The purpose of this video is to demonstrate the inner workings of this Gantt matrix and chart. Now, if you notice the columns, the respective columns, the number, this is very important. This identifies the activity, the unique identifier of the activity. Then you have the activity itself, the start date, the end date, the duration in all of this is calculated in days. So if it is a month, you must know how many days to put in that represents the particular month. Then we have the mode, which indicates whether or not the activity is sequential or parallel in nature. Then we have the dependency. This is to indicate what activity, what previous activity, this particular activity will be hinged to and in what format. So if we move to the right here, this is now our Gantt chart where we are actually charting. Now the assumption of this chart is that each month is evenly distributed. So it is divided into four quadrants. Now we know that months are not necessarily equal. However, we've managed to control this in terms of the months by this sort of mapping. Now we have the ID for the month, the first month going down to the 12th. We have the name of the month, the alias of the month, and then we have the number of days that are in the month. So if you know the acronym 30 days of September, April, June and November, all the rest are 31 except in February alone, which has about 28 days clear and 29 in each leap year. So in this vein, we will assume that February only has 28 days because this is predominantly the amount of days in February. Every 4 years, February has another day, which is the 29th. So we leave that alone. Now, in terms of managing the month, what we did was to ensure that the first quarter, the first half of the month, which ends here, has at least the half of the days that belong to the month in particular. Now, for the months that have 31 days, the other day will fall within the fourth quarter. And when I say quarter, let's understand this. So QS1 is mean the quarter start one. QE1 is quarter ending one. QS2 is quarter start two. QE2 is quarter ending two. And the sequence goes. So if you notice, for the months that actually have 30 days, the quarter ends on the 30th day of the month. For the months that have 28 days, the last quarter ends on the 28th day of the month. For the months that have only 31 days, you see the subsequent. So this is what we use to feed into the Gantt chart for the management thereof. Now, another important thing I want you to take note is that we have to determine when does the project actually starts. And the start date of the project is fed from here. So this Gantt and matrix chart system actually presumes that all the activities are linked to each other based on a particular start date of the project. So were we now to move this start period back to July, I want you to take note of what is happening here. Note the Gantt chart actually started August. So let's now take note of what happens now. This dynamically shifts now, bringing us to the starting month, which is now July. If you notice the rest of the dates here, they have adjusted themselves to July. So all these hinge on the actual start of the project, which is a project start date. at the top. Now, the calculations thereof, they are permutated much differently. So let's look at the whole notion of what is sequential versus what is parallel. If you notice here that for December, we say that this activity actually hinged on the fourth activity, which is a collection thereof. Let us say that it was supposed to be hinged on the second activity. So let's adjust this number here, the dependency. Good. You take note, it now shifts to the end of the second activity, and the end of that second activity would have been the 9th of July, which is sequential in nature. So if you notice, this activity ends the 9th of July, and this one now starts on the 10th, the day thereafter. Now, if we were to say that it was in fact parallel, note the behavior. Now, this item shifts now to start on the 1st of July. So it runs in parallel with the second activity which it references. So it's very important that we understand what is parallel versus what is sequential, as this will determine the behavior of the activity on the chart. So let's put in the activities as we would want them to be. Let me copy it and paste some data, some existing data. So these are how I would want the activities to fall. Now, if you notice, the chart dynamically fills out itself. And when we should look on, we now see all that obtains here. So we pushed over. Good. All is happening there as we see. So this is in the simplest sense how this system works. Everything is linked. So if we should now move the date to January of this year, what would our chart look like? It would be somewhat a different behavior, especially at the top here in terms of the months. Notice the dynamism. So everything shifts now. It's January, February, March, and we go downwards. So the project automatically will end sometime in August. Now, that is dynamism at best. And then you can add you can add however many activities there are, and that will sort itself out. Thank you. Goodbye.